Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having, wait, no, Tuesday stream. Sorry about that. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. Derry Bennett, Quad Bennett, Michael Hassler, Heat, how's it going? A-Bond, welcome, everybody. Welcome. Who will be the next French far left prime minister on Monday? Well, no. I don't have high confidence that that's going to be a thing. Folks, thank you all for joining. I appreciate it. If you're on the YouTube, keep liking the stream. Subscribe. I've been playing Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, and man, I gotta say, it has been a pretty good blast to the past, because it's basically a remake of the old yellow version from back in the day, from the 90s. I gotta say, it pays good homage to it. It's a modern Nintendo Switch version of Yellow, of Pokemon Yellow. I've been having a blast playing that on your cell phone. No, on the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, super nostalgia. Super nostalgia. Literally playing Animal Crossing. I actually haven't played that one. I just dusted off the Switch because we haven't used it in like forever. Like the Switch was hiding in our closet, and we were doing some organizing, and I pulled out the Switch with all the bells and whistles, charger, dock, cables, everything, extra controller. Like, man, I totally forgot. I haven't touched it in like maybe a couple years, maybe, yeah, definitely a few years, and I completely forgot it was there. Probably since the move. So I dusted it off, gave it the updates that it needed, and I saw that they made Pokemon Yellow version. They made a remake of Yellow version. So I got it, and I've been playing it. Total playtime so far is about 9 hours, so I've put in an honest day's work. Alright, folks, we gotta get started. The usual disclaimers or the usual announcements, folks. Thank y'all for supporting the channel. Thank y'all for being here. Keep liking the stream on the YouTube. Follow us here on Twitch. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join the Discord, folks. July 4th, we will be doing a quick movie night. If you want to hop in, you can. I know it's a holiday, so a lot of folks will be busy, but if you want to, you can. There'll just be a movie put up there at noon for everyone to see. If you guys want to check it out, it's going to be Don't Look Up. Very, very apt movie. A fitting movie, I should say. Yeah, noon Eastern.
We should hire
yeah,
you.
that's...
Jesus, I'd give you the...
That's right. Noon. By noon we mean noon Eastern. Yeah, like everything that we do is on Eastern. But yes, noon Eastern. All right, folks, let's get started. We got a few things to go through, and there is an event on Discord. That's right. Oh, shoot, I forgot to put my stuff up. Okay, 1 second, folks. I think I got... Okay. I think we should probably start here.
Reported that Morning Joe, we do know it's been reported that Morning Joe is Joe Biden's favorite show. And while Joe himself, not Joe Biden, Joe Scarborough on Friday of last week said, you know, Biden's got to go. I don't know if was he on today? It didn't seem like maybe he takes Mondays off, or I don't know. But Mika Brzezinski
led this whole segment.
Yes, yeah. Here's Mika Brzezinski.
Thursday's abysmal debate performance, President Biden finds himself at rock bottom again. It was bad. And again, a chorus of Biden doubters. My family and I, as you know, have known this man for decades, and his family as well. And yes, I know them personally. And I still believe in Joe Biden. I've learned that counting him out is always a mistake, and doing that now could be catastrophic for our country. Do there need to be changes? Yes. Managing him. Management. To his schedule.
Ooh, boy. Lot to unpack in that in that one sentence there. Lots to unpack in that one sentence. What do you mean there? What do you mean? Like, is Joe Biden like 5 years old? I'm not understanding. What do you mean, like, managing him? That wasn't what she said a day after the debate. Correct. This is actually more context to the clip we saw yesterday from the Rational National.
Changes, maybe even to those around him.
Yeah, nothing wrong with Joe Biden, right? It's literally everybody around him. Zombies do need managers, though. Yeah.
I'll also say America needs an explanation from Joe Biden and reassurance that the other night was a one-time event.
It's not. It's not. It's not a one-time event. Biden is sundowning. Do not let him speak after 4 p.m. Exactly.
Part of a larger problem. By the way, Biden likes to tell people, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. So let's take a quick moment to look at the current alternative.
We know the alternative.
Well, hold on. I do want to hear her say that, but this is pretty astonishing. Like, how do you guarantee that this is not going to happen again? I mean, that's sort of the point.
Yeah, like, exactly. That's exactly what I said. Like, you can't, it doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence if one day you have this Biden and the other day you have like a coherent Biden, and you try to like play it off like nothing's happening. That doesn't. Okay, yeah, the lesser of two evils.
Like,
wait, I caught that reference.
I don't think the debate happened. That's because they didn't give us a guarantee it wouldn't. Nobody promised that he would get up there. And when the abortion question was asked, that he was going to sort of wander into saying that immigrants, talking about immigrant rape stories. Or nobody said that when it came time to discussing the questions about the tax bill that he, said beat back Medicare. I mean,
we're going to beat Medicare. And then we beat Medicare. Then that was how he ended his response. And then Trump said, you're right. You beat it to death. The Democrats beat it to death.
It's just a weird framing that she's doing. Like, it's saying like, you're going to have to manage.
Chris Hayes on her network made this point. One of the things I find weird about the way people are talking about this is the assumption that it's static, when by definition, the entire point is that it's dynamic and the effects of aging change over time. That's the point.
Right.
Like, him bouncing back.
Yeah, that's not inspiring. Exactly. That's not inspiring a whole, like, because like a lot of these people like are on some on a superhuman level of copium, trying to be like, well, see, look at him go. He's doing a speech and he's normal. Like, yeah, that's kind of the point.
He's going to bounce back right into a time machine? What the fuck are we talking about here?
The idea, like, he came back that next day and people were like, look at how great he looks. No, he didn't.
Right. Yeah, you're a master and commander. See, I caught it. I enjoyed the movie in its heyday. I actually didn't watch that movie until recently. And by recently, I mean in the last 3 years. That was my first interaction. That's why that's still fresh in my mind. I saw it within the past 3-ish years, for the first time. That's the only reason I understood, or I caught that reference.
What are people talking about? Even when he doesn't look as bad as he did debate night, he still looks horrible. He looked horrible leading up to this debate. He's going to look horrible afterwards because he is a very elderly person.
We are, and Pelosi's older than him, and Clyburn's older than him, but they're still, and Bernie's older than him. But the three of those guys, people talk differently. Okay,
It's obvious.
It affects people differently, and the point.
Yeah, like, man, no, like people might try to, say that, like, oh, I'm concerned about Bernie Sanders' health. Or age, I should say. But they're not saying, Bernie Sanders isn't all there. You know what I mean? Emma's 100% correct.
Here is just like, we did this with Feinstein, which was less consequential, but RBG, we were just talking about it. The 6-3 decision on presidential immunity is in part because RBG refused to retire under Obama and Trump got to replace her. We're going to do this with the presidency, with Trump looming and Project 2025.
And then blame the voters that they're not taking it seriously
five-alarm
enough.
fire. We have an opportunity to change the narrative right now, and the toothpaste is not going back in the tube. A convention in which someone was selected, or even if it's Kamala Harris, where there's new energy, brings excitement and eyeballs in a media environment that is siloed and oversaturated, where Trump can dominate just by being as crazy as possible. The entire American public is devastated by the choices that we have. And there's an opportunity to change course and also grab eyeballs and attract energy when it's desperately needed. When we're talking about literally the fate of democratic processes in this country. And I find it so disturbing to see people actually propping this up and saying, don't believe your lying eyes. And Hillary lost to Trump in 2016 when he was more of a wild card, and we were a little bit dismissive of the polls had her up in many instances, but
but they had her up by percentage points, like plus 3, +4. That's well within the margin of error of polls. She won the popular vote by that margin. Dude, yeah, I'm serious. I watched that movie for the first time not that long ago.
it was still scary looking. We were dismissive of it, and look what happened. Biden has been down consistently for months at this point, and after that debate performance, I'm telling you, there's no chance that he can recover, at least from this narrative's perspective.
Right, and not only that, we're gonna have to have more. we're gonna have to double, triple our efforts for movie nights. Jesus Christ, for me to catch up on a lot of films. Oh my God. We're 4 months out to the election, folks. We're 4 months out to the election. How's that democracy feeling? Oh, democracy's great. It's this, however, is not that. Gotta laugh to keep from crying. True.
Mind's eye of the American public.
I think, the real question, well, I think there's two questions. There's one, the actual reality of the thing, which is if it is the case, as is reported, that his advisors are Jill Biden, Hunter Biden, and Ted Kaufman, all of whom have a...
Chris Coons in there too.
Chris Coons, I don't know how much he's an advisor as much as he is a surrogate. James Carville had said something to the effect of he doesn't have advisors, he has employees. And that is, I think Hunter Biden also has a similar vested interest in Joe Biden staying president. Because, this for him, it is sort of not quite existential, but pretty existential in terms of the way his life operates. Because he's looking at very potentially going to prison. That's one reality. Then the other question, as if we had any power in this instance, right? Like, even when it comes to like, even court decisions on some level, like we can have the way we know that Supreme Court justices perceive, their legacy is important. We know that politicians broadly, ones that feel like they have or want a future in politics, respond to like, the Supreme Court's bad. You need to reform it. John Roberts, historians are going to write that the guy, didn't call balls and strikes or whatever it is. Like, as it stands now, it really looks like we have absolutely, by we, I mean everybody, has like very little ability to impact what Joe Biden does at this point. Because
Right. Blue Brother, welcome. That's where you're wrong. Yesterday's Supreme Court verdict about presidential immunity clearly shows that the U.S. is not a democracy. Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement that whatever semblance of democratic whatever thinly veiled, personification of democracy that we are is kind of losing, if not gone. What's left is very little. So I'm not going to disagree with that. We're a constitutional republic masquerading as a democracy, which in reality is a feudal corporate oligarchy. Yeah, exactly.
Because there's just no mechanism. But it is also worth, even if we did, it's worth at least contemplating what happens on the other side. Because, you say like it's going to attract eyeballs. If Kamala Harris is the nominee, the best thing, or anybody else is the nominee at that point, the best thing is, like, it seems to me, is again, not to make this a referendum on Kamala Harris at that point, but it's a referendum on Donald Trump. I mean, that's the strategy where it's been.
She can talk about abortion without being...
But she could talk about abortion without feeling the same reservations, apparently, that Joe Biden does.
Or Gaza.
Listen, it's very difficult to know what happens on the other side of this. So I think it's easy to take it as a granted that things are going to work out for the better. But really, the real question is just like the only thing that's changed. The dangers associated with having a different person on the ballot and the potential fighting that could take place and the weaknesses any individual brings, none of that's changed from where it was 6 months ago. What has changed is on the Biden side. The risk appears to be significantly greater.
And what's also changed is that there is actually
Yeah. Well, there's a good chance to remind everyone neo-feudalism exists, which directly makes this point. My key takeaway, if Biden today ordered the redacted of Trump, would he be immune to prosecution? So, hypothetically, they would have to argue whether or not that act falls under an official act of the president. They would have to argue that, and if it does, then he would have immunity. If it doesn't, then he then actually actions taken officially cannot be used as evidence to prove actions not done. Do you understand how pretty messed up this is? It makes it a lot harder to say prosecute a hypothetical where that happens. Does that make sense? They would have to fight that in court, and hypothetically argue whether or not that was an actual official act under president, which warrants presidential immunity. You can say it's a matter of national security, which is what Trump would definitely do. I mean, if it was up to Trump, yeah, he would do something like that. It would be in his brand. But yeah, Democrats are not going to do any of that. The immunity thing, yeah, Biden specifically said that he's not going to do anything out of line, out of bounds of the presidential power, which has now been expanded to basically mean I can do whatever I want. I mean, if we're gonna have a Guantanamo, it seems like Trump belongs there. I think a lot of presidents, a lot of presidents belong there.
maybe some momentum within the Democratic Party. Raskin coming out and saying Raskin is, a left of center Democrat, but he's not Rashida Tlaib. Like, Raskin is somebody who knows people, and Pelosi's giving weak, tepid responses. Kamala Harris admitted it was a slow start. I understand that there's risk here, but my point is that there's more risk, in my view, of going down this road as we continue. And I'm terrified now. Like, I had really actually felt quite confident going into this debate that it would be the way that the Biden administration campaign had said.
The bar for what constituted success from him was not very high.
And I just,
Do you think he can reach that bar again, having seen him at that debate? Because I think he can't. Like, we kept talking about the thing he needs
It's 50-50, but I also worry that, there's not going to be a campaign.
That's the problem, though. Like, we can't be, putting all the eggs on a 50-50 basket, right? Because, I understand what Sam is saying, and I've gone down this line of thinking too. Let's say you just get literally anybody, right? You pull a name out of a hat, right? And you just choose to run them over Biden. Put Kamala in. Would it be better? Would she have a chance to win? I guess she would have a better chance than Biden at this point. So he would just have to argue that making sure getting reelected is within the presidential duties, right? They specifically cited, which is absurd to me. They specifically cited the plan to shoehorn fake electors as an example, and they declared that as they basically said that that might fall under presidential, an official presidential act. What? The more I understand the ruling, basically they just kicked it back to the lower courts, and now they're gonna have to fight. They're gonna have to fight over what constitutes an official act, right? Because they didn't specify.
Stop where he has a problem. I mean, that's
every
but here's the thing.
will be under a spotlight now.
But here's the thing: is that that is almost like a guaranteed problem, right? Unless he has he goes through the next 3 months and there's no issues.
Yeah, that was
but
actually just
to me, one of the things that's going to be the most unassailable arbiter, right? Because everything we're doing is speculation. The cost associated getting rid of him or the benefits associated with getting rid of him, it's all speculative. We don't know. The chances of him having some type of episode, I think they've always been there. It's just that we're a little bit more clear on those chances. Again, that's speculative.
Right, but what we do know is he's not doing well. He's not doing well. What they need to do is provide an what the U.S. is a de facto autocracy. I mean, I would say, I would say the U.S. is an oligopoly. What they need to do is for Biden to step down now, make her the president, then she runs for president, she gets her VP selected and runs with her. Gotcha. I mean, any plan is as good as any. Like I said, Sam Cedar said, it's all speculative, but any plan is as good as any at this point, right? Because, one thing that we do know is that this is a freaking disaster, right? That's what we do know.
When we see polling that is not flash polling in the wake of the debate. It's not including, samples from like the week before the debate, and is not like a second order thing in my estimation as to should he be the candidate, because that's not okay. Maybe he shouldn't be the candidate, but if he is the candidate, who do you vote for? That's really the only operative question. If in 2 weeks or a week or whatever it is, and I would imagine there's a lot of more interest in polling this week than there may have been, and faster, because, if I was a news organization, I would want to come out with this first poll, having it done it obviously properly. If the polling comes out and shows that this debate hurt Biden outside, let's say, the margin of error, I think it becomes a lot harder for the Biden, even the family, to justify it to themselves, to Jill Biden to even justify it by herself. But they can easily sit there and go, it hasn't hurt him.
The earliest we have from CBS is that 72%, up from 65% in earlier June, say Biden does not have the mental and cognitive health to be president, and that's registered voters. And Democratic registered voters are also up 46%, according to CBS.
But again,
now say Biden shouldn't be running. I get it, but we're also in conjunction with swing state polls where he was already down.
Yeah, but there's a category error there.
Why?
The question isn't, will I vote for Biden? That's the only one that matters. It isn't, do I think he's a sack of clay? I happen to think he's a sack of clay, but would I vote for him? Yes.
But I just said this. But the swing state polls are.
If we had a time machine, we could go back to 2019 when they set this garbage up to fail. Yep. I say we go back to prehistoric times. Let's just start over.
About who people want to vote for, and those were already bad.
Well, but
the scenario of him going up from this is crazy.
Well, look, I would be shocked if he went up on this. I would be less shocked if it made no difference. I would be the least shocked if it hurt him. I mean, I look at that and it makes me worried. But I don't, this is the thing we said that night of the debate too, and on Friday, we really don't know how how normies react to this type of thing. I don't know how many undecideds read Thomas Friedman. I don't know. I'm not being cute about this. I really don't. Well,
I mean, the problem is normies. Normies, people who don't really go into deep diving politics, they're probably going to look at this and not feel very confident, right? We can argue about the technical term, but that doesn't change the fact that it isn't a democracy. As soon as somebody, and it's usually had a state of standing above the law, it's no longer a democracy. I don't disagree with that.
The real question is we're talking about a very small cohort of people across 7 states that are the most important ultimately for the Electoral College. And so if I'm the Biden family, there's no way I even contemplate pulling out of the race unless, I'm, all of a sudden the scales drop from Jill's eyes and she realizes oh, that's why he's been walking in circles, before he goes to bed, whatever it is.
Well, yeah,
and the problem with this is if that, assuming man, we're really just kind of doing what ifs, but assuming that scenario even happens, right? Man, we're talking about we're talking about less than 4 months at that point. Maybe just a couple months. By the time that reality is set, by the time that it is indisputable, there's only going to be a couple months left of the until the election. It doesn't matter. At that point, I would argue it's already too late. But at that point, it most definitely is too late. Like, what do we, if the family or the close advisors, the reality actually sets in, indisputably, undeniably, this is gonna happen. Assuming it does, it's gonna happen. What, in a couple weeks, maybe a month, and then what? 3 months to the election? 2 months to the election? Doesn't matter at that point. It doesn't matter now, actually.
There's no way I say I'm going to do this before I see any polling. There's just no way.
Of course not. But that's what they're saying. That's why at the bottom of these articles, it's like they'll make a decision in 2 weeks. They're waiting for. But in this time period, we should be, and that's why like these pod save guys are talking about it. We should be having a conversation because we're marching towards our freaking collective suicide.
The conversation should have been happening years ago. The conversation should have happened in 2020. As soon as Joe Biden won the presidency in 2020, that's when that conversation should have happened.
With this, I really don't think he needed to create an opportunity for him to elevate himself over Trump, and he did the inverse. And if you're a down ballot Democrat, you're going to be freaking out right now. And let me just also say, like, this in some way solves. There's going to be huge protests about Gaza at the convention. Like, you want that to be the story, and his cognitive failures.
The cognitive failures will probably overshadow the.
But there will be I know. I mean, I know. But either way, I mean, like that will be the twin conversations, anti-genocide protests, and then Biden's issues, and it also limits his ability to campaign. So, like, I saw his schedule. People, blue. I don't want to call them blue MAGA derisively, but people who are supporting Biden were posting his campaign schedule, and that's true. He's going to some rallies and he's saying the same speech over and over. He's not doing extemporaneous interviews in the way that he should be as a candidate that is down in the polls against Donald Trump.
He's using a teleprompter in the Hamptons for fundraisers.
I mean, I don't care about that. Exactly.
No, I mean,
right.
That's like how gone he is.
But that's what I'm supposed to be measuring as some sort of rigorous campaign schedule here. And
it's cope.
It's crazy. So, like, Biden's failing the Hillary Clinton 2008 3 a.m. phone call tests. Like, who do you want to call in 3 a.m. if there's some issue? Right now, from a substantive perspective, you can say that that's Biden. But putting that aside, even if you don't care, even if you just are like me and would prefer a Democratic administration over a Republican one by many times over, like, there is an opportunity to actually reset the narrative here, and in a way that I didn't think that we would have going into this. And so
here's a counter to what you're saying. Meaningless poll. You guys are doomers. The president in the West Wing had medical issues that were covered up and came to light during the campaign, and he won re-election. I mean,
true. The fact that they said he'd run only one term convinced some to vote for him. They will say anything to win, but do nothing. Right. If I remember correctly, a 2-term limit for a president was only obligatory before Roosevelt was president. I get the feeling Trump is going to lift that limit once again. I mean, they need Congress, right? Right. Just going back to what you said. This conversation about, like, what are we going to do going forward should have been had in 2020. The moment Joe Biden won the presidency, plans should have been drafted to be like, okay, well, 2024 we're going to have a 2024 we're going to have a robust open primary, and that's it. We're going to hit the reset and just do that. It would require a constitutional amendment. Gotcha. Okay, so it's not up to Congress, right? They would have to. Can Congress do constitutional amendments? Hold on. I think they need like a convention of states, right? Oh wait, no, Congress can do it. well, they need the states too, right? The Constitution provides that an amendment may be proposed by either Congress with a 2/3 majority vote in both the House and the Senate, or a constitutional convention called for by 2/3 of the state. Gotcha. Can't see a constitutional convention happening in the next 4 years. No, I don't think it'll be state legislatures.
I mean, like
We need Aaron
Matt's trying
Sorkin to
figure
write
out
the script.
the West Wing, the show.
Never watched The West Wing.
No, I didn't either, but I assume that that's true.
I'm
assuming that happens.
Yes, yes.
It's
This
funny,
goes
like
to-
I saw people talk about this, saying it's the West Wing type mentality to get him to move. I don't think Democrats understand how much they have blown the trust in the American people on this stuff. I think people were shocked to see Biden, and like, look, we'll see about the polling. I think like this stuff might not.
Well, I don't
for
think
a
there was
while.
anybody who wasn't shocked, frankly.
I mean, the elder abuse stuff, like it was appalling, and now we're to see the full court press of like Ruth Ben-Ghiat saying like, "Oh, it was propaganda 101 the way they staged this debate." No, this was an incompetent guy. Like I fully think they might have shown him the sight lines, and he just forgot because he's not competent to like remember where the cameras are anymore.
Well, he was looking at somebody.
I mean, at the moderators.
Well, I guess the point is that when you do that, you know where the moderators. I mean that I don't think is necessarily his problem. Although maybe he could have, like, I don't know. I mean it's hard to know, but
I just am saying, I know it's a risk. But there's also like potential for reward, and I don't want that to get discounted because of the robust institutional inertia that the Democrats often are.
Thanks for putting me on. I was rarely happier. I was rarely ever happier being wrong. What is the proposed amendment that's like 2 states away from being ratified? No clue. What is the proposed? Oh yeah. How about you walk to the polling place and vote on that thing? No, please God, no. It would be something. It really would be something that like Hillary Clinton would post. Oh, the Equal Rights Amendment, right? Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it.
well, I mean that's the thing is that like you're saying that this is like a they or the Democrats, and I really do think it's like about 4 people.
But that was what the Axios reporting was saying, was that his inner circle is so insular, but that's coming to light now and potentially gives an opening for Democrats who are freaking out, like in leadership, who are going around and doing these interviews or speaking anonymously to the press to get in there. Because
Well,
now it's
no,
come to light.
They know it's those.
She likes to try to sound folky. Yeah, Pokemon, go to the polls.
Top Democrats know that his inner circle is that tight. They've known that forever.
So they just let it happen.
Well,
Yes.
there's no, it's not a question of like let it happen or not. You can't. Nancy Pelosi can't go to Joe Biden last year or 3 years ago and go, "Hey, I want to put my person in your closest group of advisors." Joe Biden will get the F out of my office.
But they basically greased the runway for him to run for re-election, understanding that this is one of the most insular White Houses in history, without knowing that he was in his 81 and had a.
Of course.
That's well.
I mean, of course it's not. But how do you grease the runway for an incumbent? I mean,
I know he's tired, Hillary Clinton.
guess all of these people could have come out and said, I don't think Joe Biden was going to be the. And look, I don't know what I would do as a politician in that instance, but to expect these people, particularly the people who have gotten to the top of the party apparatus, to come out and put their necks out and say, like last fall, I don't think Joe Biden should be the nominee. Then and no one else is going to join them because, I mean, look, you didn't even have a candidate.
That's not my expectation. I mean, that's not necessarily what I'm saying, but I do believe that they allowed themselves to be deluded and they didn't really look into things when I guess it's just Schumer running the show in the Senate and Hakeem.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Emma in this exchange here. I don't know nothing about birthing no babies, hell dog.
I just think that I think that like what you think happens at that level is not what happens.
So Biden's just running independently of the Democratic Party?
No, the Democratic Party goes along with it, but no single individual or even a group of them is going to come out and stick their necks out because
that's not what I was saying. Like,
but
internally, they basically, there was an understanding, I think, probably between power players within the Democratic Party that Biden was not up to snuff here, or they just allowed him to run this, like, there was no internal discussion, anything.
It was drowned out. I mean,
but there's no way for them to stop him. I'm just saying that there's no way to stop an incumbent president from running again if he believes that he's going to do it.
There's a norm that's been sort of established, though.
Sam does this weird thing where he doesn't think political parties exist in any real way.
Oh, and discipline been enforced with regards to, say, what Bernie Sanders tried to do with Obama in 2012, which is support a primary. And that is a norm that has been snuffed out by Democratic Party, like saying, we don't do that in this party.
Oh, I don't think that was a function of that as much as you had a bunch of potential candidates.
Zero accounting software helped put me on the right path. It's easy to find.
Yeah, I don't get it. It makes no Sam's not making sense at this point.
Next pillow. Why do we make our pillow in the shape of a cube? I'll tell you.
Who could have run again?
I notice you deleting those messages frequently. Why is it because you think you can't discuss with MAGA? I don't think I know that. And these people are usually just trolls. Like, there's no like meaningful discussion. It's just trolls. They're just trolls.
Against Biden, and they all made the exact same calculation, which is, if I run against him right now, I'm going to ruin my future in the Democratic Party because I'm going to also alienate a bunch of voters. And so I'm not going to. It's worth it for me to wait 4 years and try and run against Kamala Harris.
They were all triangulating or they were all planning for 2028.
This is the way politicians operate.
I agree. Fair enough
I don't think the discipline is just the voters, though. Like, I think there are people within the party who would.
Oh, sure, but you're talking about, like, you know, the 465 members or whatever it is of the DNC. Mm-hmm. You're talking about, I don't know, some fundraiser, you know, some donors who organize money. I mean, you're talking about all of these different apparatus, all these different people who all have their own sort of like individual agenda. I mean, this is the way that, like,
I hear
these
what you're
things
saying,
function.
But I do think that post-debate we're in a bit of a different situation here.
Well, I think there's a lot of people who think like, oh wait, this is not in my best interest, and there's other people getting out there.
Somebody didn't think of trolls, but yeah, I get it. Yeah, like there's no like, if you're gonna like come in here and troll the channel, at least come with something like useful, right? Don't make your first message Trump 2024. Okay, I don't care. If you get a live one, sometimes you gotta indulge. Yeah, but like, yeah, exactly. You gotta give us you gotta give us something to work with, not just Trump 2024. That's boring.
Saying this, and it was so undeniable. I'm not sticking my neck out as much as I would be, and even Raskin's out there, and he's like sort of like
creating oxygen.
He's sticking his neck out a little bit, but not too much. I mean, yes, but again, the problem at this stage is if there had been an event like this a year ago, let's say. I don't even know that he was in the same state, frankly, that he is in now.
Well, that should be considered.
But if there was an event like this a year ago, before there have been how many primaries? What are we, like 50 primaries? 45? If that had already been, he's already got the delegates. Like, that's the thing. It's a different situation.
We're not disagreeing that he's the one who has to make the decision, but I do think that the
Weak sauce.
circumstances of pressure points are much more visible. They're more easily pressed, and there's more oxygen for the Democratic Party to make this case right now in a way that I did not foresee coming out of this debate. When you had the freak out on MSNBC and CNN.
Yeah, they're talking past each other is what's happening. So if I change my mind to support Trump, and please, if I did, would you wouldn't ban me right away? Not really. It just depends, because like most often enough, inevitably, these people find themselves, a way to get banned. These people find them. It doesn't take long for them to find themselves banned. Inevitably, like Trump at this point, being a Trump supporter in 2024, like, come on.
And then you heard the Democrats internally freaking out. You hear lukewarm quotes from Pelosi. You see Raskin coming out. There's an opportunity here.
Yeah, so Emma's talking about a completely different thing, and Sam's talking about a completely different thing. They're talking like past each other.
And I just want people to be aware of that, because this could change in the coming weeks.
I mean, it's a shame because
like I completely I've already made this. I've ran this thought exercise. I understand what Sam is saying. And quite frankly, I agree. Like, what are we gonna do? We're 4 months out. You know, we're 4 months out. We never really had, for all intents and purposes, we didn't really have a primary, right? So yeah, so it's worth noting. It happens why I'm glad Emma's here. I tend to agree with her too. Kamala Harris is a turbo fash. I don't know if I would call her a fascist, but there's lots to be desired. There was no primary. Yeah, you had like what? How many people actually jumped in the Democratic ticket? Like 3 people? Like 4 people? And out of those, how many were actually like serious candidates? You had freaking Cenk Uygur jump in. My state didn't even allow anyone but Biden on a ballot primary. That's nonsense. That's so bad. It's so bad. In like terms of stuff like cracking down on protests and dissent, strengthening the police state. Well, yeah, she is a cop.
a lot of this could have changed if there was a strong primary thing, because why did LBJ lose the race?
Thank you, Matt.
Because RFK got into the race to say we needed to end the Vietnam War, and you know, maybe if Julian Castro ran, but I think the Democratic base is more averse to democracy, and the party itself is more averse to democracy even than it was back when it was a closed door convention deciding who is the candidate. They're not interested in that sort of stuff.
No power. Sam, I'm confused. There is no way for us to put pressure on Biden to drop out, but Biden and his family will be concerned and think about dropping out if the opinion polls indicate that. So basically, opinion polls have the power to influence the decision. Yes, if you are polled and you want to get Biden out of the race, I do think it provides the only way that I think Biden goes out of the race is if those...
Right, and by the time this kind of becomes reality to these people, it's too freaking late. It's already too late. It's already too late. It's July.
those polls as to who you will vote for in the fall change. Now, like, I can tell you, I personally, I think that like having Biden stay in at this juncture is probably too risky. But if he is the candidate, I'm going to vote for him. And I'm not even I'm not even convinced that he can make it for the inauguration speech. But if he's the candidate, I'm going to vote for him.
I agree, but you
need to get a turnout, though. I mean, you can rationalize that
Exactly.
as much as you want, and we can all pretend.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting other people are going to feel this way.
Right.
I'm just saying that's the way I feel.
In my obsession over this weekend, like you see, NBC interviewed voters in Atlanta, in Georgia, and they were like, "This makes you want to not vote for president at all," is what one person said. And who knows, right? But I could
But I
see
think
that.
that's right.
I think that's right. I gut feel,
It
and
was right in 2016. I felt like the Hillary versus Trump thing was the exact same. People left the ballot blank, and she lost for that reason.
And I'm also talking to just random liberal Democratic voters who don't like Bernie or something, and they think Biden should drop out.
What's amazing is that Bernie was considered too old last, and he's just hanging in there look, there's no doubt that being president for 4 years ages you. But I think some people are more prone to problems at this age than others, and Joe Biden seems to be one of those people. I mean,
Mika, how's it gonna get better? How's it gonna?
It's not. Biden was the right candidate in 2020. However, the Democrats negligently failed to build up a new candidate for 2024. I don't even know if he was the right candidate for 2020, but at the time, I was willing to take that. I was willing to swallow that pill to oust Trump at that particular point in time. But I don't even know if he was the right candidate for 2020. I predict Biden drops dead of old age 2 days before the election day. Check back with us for your winning.
No, it's on us.
He's got to be managed.
To save the world.
He's got to be managed.
Even though we don't actually have any power, it's on us to just save it in November, and then they can go back to get whatever Zions.
I'm trying to save what we've got by we got to put someone else on the ticket. But yeah, I know. We'll see.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit.
Bernie met the moment in 2020. So I think that's a perfect setup to this one.
Listen, I'm not the first to say this, but Biden's debate performance on Thursday evening was truly disastrous. And it really felt like the culmination of years of concerns about his mental fitness. And for anyone that was still questioning whether or not he was fit to keep serving as president, they got their answer on Thursday evening. It was an unequivocal no. Now, I already shared most of my thoughts about this on last Thursday's episode of The Leftist Mafia, so I'm not going to rehash what I already said. But for those who didn't see that, I was stunned, just like everyone else. Days later, I'm still in disbelief at how bad that debate performance was. With that being said, there is still a small window available to replace him and salvage this election and save democracy. The problem is that that's easier said than done because he already clinched the nomination. So it's kind of a done deal, unless he chooses to unilaterally release his delegates, which he can do, but won't. Now, look, I've seen 2 family members in the past 5 years succumb to dementia. They have good days and they have bad days. But there's always this moment where the family has a conversation with them about their capabilities, and it's a difficult conversation. You have to talk about whether or not they can still drive, and you have to say, you can't. They're in denial. They don't want to admit that, but you have to have this difficult conversation for their own safety. Now, finally, enough Democrats are having that conversation with themselves.
Where are we gathering to watch democracy end? A hot tub time machine party. I don't know. I might consider because depending on how we're feeling that day or leading up to that day, I might When is November 5th? I mean, we're not going to get a result like right that night, right? It might be the day after. November 5th is a Tuesday. Well, we'll see. If I can get like Tuesday and Wednesday off, then I might just like forego like the regular streams and just kind of do like a live live election coverage. We'll see how that goes. We'll know by Thursday. Yeah, by Thursday of that week. November 5th is 2 days before Biden croaks. They both performed disasters. Here in Germany is where they say choosing between the plague and cholera, which one you choose. I never tried mushrooms, but this feels like the time. Just do a lot of research and make sure that you have make sure that you have a buddy.
And they're saying we should do that with Biden. Now, I'm not trying to diagnose Biden with dementia or anything like that. I don't know what the issue is. I mean, with old age, you never know. There's a number of issues, I'm assuming. But I no longer have the confidence that he's mentally fit to be president, and a lot of people don't have the confidence anymore. Now, that alone, to me, isn't the biggest problem. I think that if Biden were to be president, he would have enough advisors around him to help him do the job. The question now is whether or not America feels the same way. Is this a big enough political liability? And I think the answer is an obvious yes. Not to mention, there's a devastating new poll released by CBS that finds that 72% of registered voters don't think Biden has the cognitive health to serve as president. Also, 72% don't think he should be running for president. We're talking about the overwhelming majority of Americans here. Now, even among Democrats, 46% don't think that he should be running for president. This is the president's own party, and they're saying he shouldn't be running. Now, to be fair, the numbers aren't great for Trump either, but they're especially bad for Biden. Furthermore, aggregate polling data shows...
Yeah, like, again, I don't give two craps about Trump. I already know what the story is there.
That he's down nationally in every single recent poll, with the exception of a Fox News poll, ironically. But when it comes to battleground states, he's losing to Trump in all of them, with the exception of Wisconsin, where he's tied.
Yeah, so like, man, this is so bad. This is so bad. The freaking numbers haven't improved. And you know, like I've been pushing back on these liberals who I don't know, have deluded themselves into putting their or rather I should say, putting their heads in their sand and just pretend like we're not seeing the numbers that we're seeing, and pretending like, oh, well, the election is so far away. Man, the numbers haven't changed. Given the 2016 Nevada caucus and subsequently parties' lawyers argue in court that they can pick the candidates in smoky backrooms. Yeah, they are. Yeah, that's true. They technically don't even need to get to grant us the primary elections. No, it's not good at all. It's not good. It's not great. Not good.
So the question is, what the fuck are we doing here? We are staring down the barrel of a gun named Donald Trump, and that fascist is very much the favorite to win this election. So in the name of protecting American democracy, it's not even a question to me. Joe Biden has got to go. He has to be replaced. Rolling with Biden at this point is utterly reckless, in my opinion. We are sailing straight into a fucking iceberg, and we all have to ask ourselves, do we care more about sinking or Biden's ego? Because for me, I care more about sinking. I mean, maybe most people don't view it that way. Maybe they think, no, I love Biden. I'm a Democratic Party enthusiast, and I'm going to go with whoever's at the top of the ticket. Let's ask ourselves, do we actually care about defeating Donald Trump? Because if the answer is yes, then I don't know how you can convince yourself that rolling with Biden is the best bet for democracy. And really, Obama, I've got to spotlight him. He got us into this mess in a way because he called all the other Democrats in 2020 and told them to drop out and endorse Biden so that way Bernie Sanders wouldn't win. And now he needs to make another phone call. He needs to pick up the phone, call up Biden, and tell him to drop out. Otherwise, it just feels like we're cooked. Like, it's not a foregone conclusion. Biden can still win, but it just feels like we're really gambling with so much. The stakes are so high, and to lose would be unthinkable at this point. Trump is a legitimate threat to democracy, so I just can't imagine why anyone would want.
He's got a point. Even himself is clearly not able to perform another term. His advisors would at least make sure still the right decisions were made. The right decisions being, upholding the oligopoly. And there's that pesky, Gaza issue.
Want to risk it and go with Biden. But let's be real. The prospect of him being replaced is very low. It's very, very low. So the conversation originally after the debate went from, how can we convince him to drop out to how do we get people to shut the fuck up who are concerned about him and want him to drop out. That's kind of the shift that we're already seeing. But I do want to play a really quick clip from MSNBC that gives us a summary of the current predicament that we're all in.
I have spoken to some top Democrats who say that there would actually be relief if he were to step down. And one person said to me, look, everyone's counting out Kamala Harris because right now her poll numbers are below President Biden's. But if she were to be the one to carry this torch into November, there could be a method of reintroducing her to the country that could be effective with independents, with moderates, with those critical suburban women that are necessary for winning the White House. We'll have to see how it plays out, though, because publicly speaking, the president, his family, his top aides defiant that he's not going anywhere.
So top Democrats and virtually any Democrat not directly related to or working for Biden thinks that he should step down and would even feel relieved if he did. The problem is they don't want to put their necks on the line and say that publicly. They want to whisper about it anonymously to journalists. But I mean, if you're not willing to put your name on it and say it with your full chest, he's not going to do it. Unless all elected Democrats or most come out with this massive pressure campaign and publicly call on him to drop out, he's not going to drop out. I mean, even then he might not drop out, but you can't just, whisper about it and expect that to make a difference. The anonymity is working to his benefit. Now, what makes matters worse is that his family, they're not helping. They had a private conversation with him at Camp David, and not only did they not encourage him to drop out, they blamed everyone else for his debate performance. Now, it's less about the debate performance and more about his state, but nonetheless, here's what they say. Politico reports, quote, that First Lady Jill Biden and his son Hunter Biden were the loudest voices urging the president to stay in the 2024 contest. On top of that, members of Joe Biden's family privately trashed his top campaign advisors at Camp David this weekend, blaming them for the president's flop in Thursday's debate and urging Biden to fire or demote people in his political high command. Jesus Christ. The blame was cast widely on staffers, including Anita Dunn, the senior advisor who frequently has the president's ear, her husband.
Sharpie D's a welcome. He reminds me of my father-in-law when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, the non-shake version. My mother has Alzheimer's, but she's sharp as a tack in moments at a time. My great-grandma had it. Wow.
Bob Bauer, the president's attorney who played Trump in rehearsals at Camp David, and Ron Klain, the former chief of staff who ran point.
I didn't even know there was a non-shake Parkinson's version. I mean, there was a big mistake letting him out past 4 p.m. Yep.
Point on the debate prep and previous cycle sessions. Wow. So, to be clear, these are the most selfish people on the planet.
Consider this your sign to stock up on signs. Right now at Vistaprint, all signs are 20% off.
I didn't know that either, Michael Hassler.
Hunter Biden, I think that with him, of course, he's going to encourage his dad to stay in the race because in the off chance he wins, he wants daddy to commute his sentence. So that makes sense to me. As for Jill Biden, you can say, oh, she's just being cruel and she's propping him up for power. But I actually think it's much more simple than that. I think that she's just in denial. I don't think she wants to admit that her husband is as bad as we all see, right? It's difficult for family to come to terms with the fact that somebody you love is sundowning. But regardless if she sees it or not, it's not good. It's not good. And we only saw a taste of how bad it is because, as Axios reports, Biden's limitations are much more obvious to those who work with him. So he is dependably engaged from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., but outside of that range, he's much more likely to mistalk and become fatigued. Yeah, see, this doesn't necessarily scream confidence to me. And
Right. I think it meant as if it were Parkinson's, but without the shakes. Got it.
the problem is that most Americans, I'm assuming, want a president that's ready to handle a crisis at all times, should one emerge. Now, cards on the table, I would much prefer an incoherent Biden to a coherent Trump, because at least with Biden, he has aides to help him make a particular decision. Whereas with Donald Trump, you don't know what the fuck he's going to do. You know, he's just an agent of chaos. The problem is that I don't think most Americans think about this the way that we think about this, right? I think that they acknowledge that Trump is belligerent and he's a threat to democracy, but that's not going to be at the forefront of their minds. Perhaps they think, yeah, he's a threat to democracy, but I think it's more devastating if we have a president that's not ready to handle an emergency. So I don't know how the average person is going to interpret this, but at least based on that CBS News poll,
the average person is going to look at this and go like, nah, like this guy's lost. This guy's lost. Globus the Elder, welcome. Many Americans think process will save us. Oof.
Seems like they're worried, right? Now, the prospect of Biden dropping out is inconceivable. He's not going to drop out. And I say this because when you accumulate that much power, you don't give up that much power, right? So the question is, if he's not going to drop out, what the fuck are they going to do? How are they going to get all of us to unsee what we saw on Thursday evening? That's really the question. You know, are they going to invent those little pens from Men in Black where they erase our memories? Are they going to prop up his corpse like we...
They need to give the masses an alternative. They don't want to vote for Trump and they hate Biden. Yep. Lose, it's what they do best.
Yeah, at Bernie's, how can you possibly continue this charade at that point? How do you go forward? Well, they are going forward. They have a couple of strategies: attack, gaslight, and solidify his nomination, so that way we have no choice but to roll with Biden. So let's talk about the first strategy: attack. So immediately his campaign went on the defensive and started attacking people who are questioning his mental fitness, the people who put their names to their concerns, right? So the Pod Save America guys, I give them credit where it's due. You know, they're typically Democratic Party hacks, they're Obama era alum, but they were actually honest about Biden, and that's really important. Now, I do find it interesting that they condescendingly told Morning Joe last week that young people weren't supporting Biden because they weren't engaged, which kind of means they're ignorant. But, you know, now they're saying, oh, yeah, actually, you know, we should probably replace him. So that to me is really interesting because leftists were saying this and, you know, you were saying that they were ignorant.
Right. L. Ron Hubbard, welcome. All the U.S. now has a choice garnish for its ish sandwich, and we in the U.K. get to pick our garnish on Thursday. Oh, man. SCOTUS is the epitome of process and see how that has worked for us. And we see how that has worked for us. Yep.
But either way, you know, they said that, and kudos to them for saying that with their full chest. But Biden did not take kindly to it, and his team put out a...
I'm going to lurk for a few minutes before heading to bed. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Fundraising email referencing them, calling them self-important podcasters, and they went on to refer to people concerned about Biden's chances as the bedwetting brigade and said that he's not dropping out, period. They also said this talk of Biden dropping out helps Trump, except the opposite is true because he is quite literally losing to Donald Trump, according to most polls. But that's all part of the gaslighting, which brings us to their next strategy. They're going to do a massive PR campaign, according to Axios, to try to get us to stop talking about this. So the strategy here is to, 1, dismiss bedwetting, i.e. downplay his cognitive capabilities and chalk it up to a single bad debate. I mean, this has been an issue before the debate. That just kind of like was the worst example, but nonetheless, there's number 2. They're going to cherry pick polls that make him look better. Number 3, they're going to fearmonger about how an open or contested convention would help Trump. 4, limit dissent by drowning out the naysayers. 5, ease concerns with Democrats running down ballot races that are worried that his popularity could actually hurt their races. Number 6, get donors to talk to other donors who are concerned. Number 7, prove he's viable somehow. I mean, maybe by giving him Adderall. If not, they...
Bedwetting is the worst term for this contextually. Seriously. Bedwetting, the bedwetting brigade. I'll pit my bedwetting record with Joe's any night.
should. And 8, try to create the illusion of competence by curating media appearances. Now, this is all just a strategy to ease concerns, but if it fails and the so-called bedwetters are still worried about whether or not he could lose to Trump, well, the final thing, as Bloomberg reports, is the DNC might just move up the official nomination of Biden to totally shut down talks of replacing him because, once that happens, it's a done deal. In other words, if you're worried about Biden losing to Trump, shut the fuck up and accept your fate. And if you don't roll with someone who is demonstrably mentally unfit and losing in nearly every single poll, congratulations, you're the one helping Trump, not them. Listen, when we talked about this on the Leftist Mafia, we warned everyone that Biden was not going to be replaced because that's just not something that's going to happen. Democrats and Biden won't allow it, even though it's the logical thing to do. Giving up that much power again is something a politician would never do. So we're stuck with him. And basically, we have to cross our fingers that things change between now and November, and he somehow ekes out a victory. Best case scenario is we get 4 more years with this 81-year-old in cognitive decline. It's just democracy rests on that. It's such a bleak situation, right? So I'm expecting the worst, hoping for the best, but it's not the best strategy when it comes to democracy, right? But what are you going to do? The elites have told us to accept this, and if we don't, then we're helping Donald Trump.
Dems are absolutely determined to lose. The emperor has no clothes, and these sycophants demand we ask STFU about it. Exactly. Representative Lloyd Doggett becomes first Democrat in Congress to call for Biden's withdrawal from 2024 race. A House Democratic lawmaker has become the first in the party to publicly call for Biden to step down as the party's nominee for president, citing Biden's debate performance against Trump, failing to effectively defend his many accomplishments. Lloyd Doggett of Texas said in a statement today, that Biden should make the painful and difficult decision to withdraw. Quote, "My decision to make these strong reservations public is not done lightly, nor does it in any way diminish my respect for the president, for all that President Biden has achieved. Recognizing that, unlike Trump, President Biden's first commitment has always been to our country, not himself, I am hopeful that he will make the painful and difficult decision to withdraw. I respectfully call him to do so." Speaker Doggett 2025. Doggett, who represents Austin-based district, is serving his 15th term in Congress, is the first sitting lawmaker in its party to publicly state what many have privately been whispering behind closed doors since last week's debate. Biden's weak performance caused immediate panic even among his most ardent supporters, leading many to question whether the 81-year-old career politician is the strongest Democratic candidate to take on Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee, in November. Quote, "I represent the heart of a congressional district once represented by Lyndon Johnson," said Doggett, who was the number 2 Democrat in the powerful House of Ways and Means Committee. Under very different circumstances, he made the painful decision to withdraw. President Biden should do the same. Biden himself has conceded that the debate didn't go well for him, but insisted he was ready to fight for a second term as president. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre asked Tuesday about growing concern among Democrats, said they respect the opinions and thoughts of concerned party members, adding, quote, "That's what makes this party different other than the other side." As for Doggett, She said he's going to have his thoughts, and that's for him to speak to. But not to listen, right? Like, not to listen to, not to consider. Nothing. Beyond the White House, control of both chambers of Congress is also hanging in the balance November, and Democrats find themselves defending far more Senate seats than Republicans. The Democrats hold the Senate with a slim 51-49 majority, while Republicans control the House only by a handful of seats. Doggett's explosive statement came minutes after former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told MSNBC that she believes it's a legitimate question whether Biden's halting performance is just an episode or is this a condition. When people ask that question, it's legitimate of both candidates, Pelosi said. Pelosi said she has not spoken with Biden since the debate, but she emphasized that the president is on the top of his game in terms of knowing the issues and what is at stake. Man, that is something, huh? So on one hand, it's a legitimate question to see if he's like fit, if he is fit to be president, while also saying he's at the top of his game. Yeah, this is some double speak. It all amounts to a stunning and swift turn of events for Biden, his campaign, and his allies on Capitol Hill, who have spent the better parts of several years combating criticism about the president's fitness and defending his ability to serve another 4-year term, at the end which he would be 86 years old. But Biden's shaky performance during the debate with Trump has shaken Democratic support to its foundations, with members of the party at all levels entertaining the possibility that he can no longer be the nominee. Representative Jamie Raskin, the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee and an influential voice in the caucus, over the weekend broached the possibility of Biden stepping aside ahead of the Democratic convention in August. So whether he's the candidate or someone else is the candidate, he's going to be the keynote speaker at our convention. He told MSNBC he will be the figure that we rally around to move forward. Other elected Democrats said they were caught off guard by Biden's rambling and raspy performance. Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island said, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island said that he has known Biden for years and served in the Senate with him, but he had never seen that happen before. Quote, I think people want to make sure that this is a campaign that's ready to go and win. The president and his team are being candid with us about his condition, and that is real, and that this was a real anomaly and not just the way he is these days. I hate to break it to you folks, that's just the way he is and has been for a while now. And there is a faction of the Democratic Party who are deeply disappointed by Biden's performance, but point to the political reality that less than 2 months from the Democratic National Convention and 4 months from the election day, the path to an alternative candidate is rocky and uncertain. Agreed. Senator Bernie Sanders, Biden's one-time Democratic opponent, told the Associated Press in an interview Tuesday today that, that while he's not confident that the president can win in November, he doesn't want him to step aside, considering the party what the party views as greatest threat to democracy and Trump. I mean, he's 81. I don't think he should have to perform better, just not as president. Right. A presidential election is not a Grammy Award contest for the best singer or entertainer. It's about who has the best policies that impact our lives, Sanders said. And I'm going to do everything I can to see that Biden gets reelected. Womp womp. Nancy Pelosi, quote, it's a legitimate question whether Biden's debate performance is a condition or just an episode. Former Speaker Pelosi said Tuesday that it's valid for people to ask whether The president's poor performance at the debate Thursday was just an episode or part of a condition. Quote, I think it's a legitimate question to say, is this an episode or is this a condition? And so when people ask that question, it's completely legitimate of both candidates. Pelosi, still a prominent member of the House Democratic Caucus, said in an interview on MSNBC, Andrea Mitchell reports. Both candidates owe whatever test you want to put them to in terms of their mental acuity and their health. Both of them asked for further clarification. Pelosi spokesperson Ian Krager said that she has full confidence in President Biden and looks forward to attending his inauguration January 20th, 2025. And the condition is zombie. The White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, told reporters at the daily briefing later Tuesday that the administration has been transparent about Biden's health. Nah, come on. Come on. We've put forward a thorough, transparent annual report on his health, so they have said it is not warranted, it's not needed to have a cognitive test. Come on. When asked if Biden was seen by a doctor or underwent neurological scans after the debate, Jean-Pierre said that people need to take a step back and that Biden's aides understand the president had a bad night. Whew. During last week's debate, Biden repeatedly appeared to lose his train of thought and stumbled over his words several times. His performance, which even close allies admitted was a setback, renewed speculation about whether he should be replaced as a Democratic presidential nominee. Trump, who is 78, has also faced questions about his mental fitness after he mixed up Pelosi with former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley earlier this year. Several business executives who met with Trump in Washington last month told CNBC that he's remarkably meandering and could not keep a straight thought throughout the event. Speaking from a teleprompter at a campaign event Friday, Biden, who's 81, acknowledged that he's gotten older and he doesn't debate as well as he used to, but he insisted that he was up for the job. So, yeah, things are not looking great when even Pelosi is questioning things. Pelosi said she heard mixed messages from elected Democrats about whether Biden should remain in the race. On one hand, she said, people say Joe's our guy. We love him. We trust him. He has our vision, knowledge, and judgment and integrity. The other guy has none of the above. It's going to be up to Biden to do, to do what he thinks. There is no more patriotic person in our country than the president this president of the United States. She emphasized that Biden must show what he's like unscripted to the American people, and she said her recommendations for him to sit down for a few interviews with serious journalists in which any questions fair game, and Biden can just sit there and be Joe. Yeah. I don't know if that's going to end up being a good idea at this point in time. Judge in Trump's criminal hush money case postponed sentence to September 18th. The judge overseeing former President Trump's criminal hush money case in New York has postponed the sentencing to September 18th, according to a letter sent to the parties. The move came after the Manhattan DA's office said earlier Tuesday it would not oppose Trump's request to file a motion arguing that his hush money conviction should be tossed based on Monday's Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity. Although we believe the defendant's arguments to be without merit, we do not oppose his request to leave to file and putative request and his putative request to adjourn sentencing pending determination of his motion. Assistant District Attorney Josh Seinglass wrote in a letter to Judge Merchant. On Monday, just hours after the Supreme Court issued its landmark ruling that Trump has some presidential immunity from criminal prosecution for actions taken to overturn the 2020 election, Trump's attorney sent a letter to Judge Merchan asking him to set aside the jury's verdict in his hush money case. Judge Merchan, in his response Tuesday, signaled to the parties that he would rule on Trump's motion to set aside the conviction September 6th. He gave Trump until July 10th to submit papers and the DA's office until July 24th to respond. Sentencing that originally was scheduled for July 11th, just days before Trump is scheduled to claim the GOP presidential nomination at the RNC, Merchan has now set the sentencing for September 18th. President Bumpy. Yeah, idiotic state of affairs right now. He can do anything. Immune president for life. President Puffy. Trump in May was found guilty on the 34 felony counts of falsifying business records related to the 2016 hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. In the defense's letter to Judge Merchan, which was made public on Tuesday, defense attorneys argued Trump's conviction should be thrown out because prosecutors relied on evidence and testimony they believe should have been protected by presidential immunity, including several of Trump's tweets, a government ethics forum, and testimony of former Trump aide Hope Hicks. Right, which the Supreme Court ruled that evidence taken from official actions cannot be used to prosecute potential unofficial actions that may have been criminal. It's already playing out how they want. Yeah, this is perfect for Trump, right? Because he's delayed the trial. He's delayed the important trials have been delayed until after the election. He has gained the blessing from the 9 law wizards. He has been blessed by the 9 law wizards, and yeah, it just seems like it just seems like accountability is not on the cards here. The verdict in this case violates the presidential immunity doctrine and create grave risk of an executive branch that cannibalizes itself, defense attorney Todd Blanche wrote. After further briefing on these issues beginning July 10th of 2024, it will be manifest that the trial result cannot stand. So we will have to see what ends up happening with this case. Man. Can you imagine, because of this Supreme Court decision, the conviction gets tossed out? It's fine that justice is determined by which party is in the majority, right? True, that's how it should work. Ah, man. A judge sides with states over Biden and allows gas export projects to move forward. Cool. Nice. Excellent. Phenomenal. The Biden administration can't delay consideration of projects aimed at exporting liquefied natural gas while a legal challenge by 16 Republican-led states play out in federal court, a Louisiana judge said on Monday. U.S. District Judge James Kane Jr. sided with the states, granting a preliminary injunction that puts the Biden administration's delay on hold. Joe Biden should send SEAL Team 6 to Mar-a-Lago as an official act. I'm glad I didn't get the pre-law degree, or I'd probably be really mad right now. Yeah. Imagine spending years of learning case law and things like that, only for the Supreme Court to just like look at it and go, nah. It was unlike imagine spending entire like semesters learning about like um Chevron deference and how that the ramifications of it only to be told by the 9 law wizards of the realm that actually that's not how we do things anymore. Plus, I don't understand the implications of this more. Yeah, I mean, true. Man, I'd be pretty upset. The U.S. District Judge James Kane Jr. sided with the states, granting a preliminary injunction that puts the Biden administration's delay on hold. It was unlikely, however, that any of the projects would be on a fast track for consideration, as the U.S. Department of Energy said late Monday that it disagreed with the court's ruling and it was evaluating the next steps. The White House also voiced disappointment. Quote, "We remain committed to informing our decision with the best available economic and environmental analysis underpinned by sound science," the White House spokesperson Angel Hernandez said in an email to the Associated Press. President Joe Biden in January decided his administration would delay consideration of new gas export terminals in the U.S., even as gas shipments to Europe and Asia soared following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The move aligned the Democrat with the environmentalists who fear an increase in exports in the form of LNG is locking in potential catastrophic planet-warming emissions, which is true. A coalition of states, including Louisiana, Alaska, Texas, West Virginia, and Wyoming, sued in March, claiming that the administration was violating the U.S. Constitution and other federal laws by banning exportation of LNG to countries without a free trade agreement. In temporarily blocking the Biden ban on new approvals, Kane said the states will likely succeed in their case. He cited evidence submitted by the plaintiffs that showed loss of revenue and deferred investments in LNG projects due to the Biden administration's actions. The rulings come a day after federal commission approved what would be the nation's largest export terminal for LNG. Venture Global's Calcio Pass 2 southwestern Louisiana project, often referred to as CP2, was approved last week with little discussion by the Federal Energy Regulation Commission. Cool. Nice. Yeah, I mean, like, this just makes me add another asterisk for nationalization of these companies. This is absurd. The project that still needs that project still needs Department of Energy approval. The agency said the project's application was pending. Republican members of Congress from Louisiana to Alaska have derided the administration's pause as short-sighted and a boon to foreign adversaries that produce energy, including Iran and Russia. Produce oil, not energy. Other supporters have argued that projects such as CP2 will be critical to global energy security. Sure. The environmental group Evergreen Action was among those to criticize Kane's ruling, alleging that the judge was bending the law to hand the oil industry a win. Pause or no pause, the science is clear. No sound analysis that accounts for the climate and environmental harm inflicted by LNG exports could possibly determine these deadly facilities are in the public interest, Craig Siegel, the group's vice president, said. Iran produces oil and Russia produces gas. Yes, that's true. That's right. According to the DOE, the current authorizations for exports of LNG to non-free trade agreement countries stand at over 48 billion cubic feet per day, or more than 45% of our current domestic production of natural gas. The agency also said the U.S. continues to be the largest exporter of LNG by a substantial margin for at least the next 6 years based on current export capacity. Cool. Very cool, very nice, very good. So global energy security would actually threaten the U.S. Depending on who you talk to. Is it a good thing that climate change will kill us so we won't have to live under Christofascism for too long? Oh man. It makes it much harder for the US to do their coups, that's true. Welcome Bipedal Meatbag. Christofascism will be here in much quicker than the climate crisis, so I think it's not out of pocket to I don't think it's out of pocket to prepare for an incoming Trump presidency. At this point in time. All right, folks, I got to get going. And it's good that Trump will defund NASA so we won't see the giant asteroid. True. Great stream. Take it easy. Thank you. I appreciate it. Speaking of which, ta-ta for now. Thank you for stopping by. Speaking of which, we are streaming Don't Look Up July 4th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to hang out with us, feel free. Join the Discord. Thank you all for supporting the channel. You guys are what makes this work. Thank you guys. Thank you for your subscriptions, follows, all that stuff. You guys are what makes this work. If you guys want to support the channel, there are many different ways. Consider checking out the merch store. Join the Discord, folks. It's going to be fun indeed. Trump cancels Hush Money trial Friday. Great movie if you haven't seen it. Yeah, it's a good movie. That's why I want to stream. I think it's fitting to stream July 4th. Given the circumstances, I think it's pretty fitting. Thank you for the folks on YouTube hanging out. I appreciate it. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hassler, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. Thank you all for being here. I have seen the channel grow, and I appreciate all of you guys hanging out. Join us Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We're here. We do the news. We do the politics. Thank you all. I appreciate it. It's time for food. Thank you all. As always, please stay safe. Oh, look at me. I'm not even doing the proper outro. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. Thank you, Sharpie Diesel. I appreciate it. Food. Yes, you know I'm hungry. When I'm messing up the slides over here. See y'all tomorrow. I'm an hour earlier and I'm starving. Indeed, me too. Hang tight, folks. We are heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.